Hello, welcome back to week 2, English 123. Again, I'm Professor Hannah. We're going to talk about the annotated bibliography, which is your assignment for this week. And it's really easy to underestimate the importance of this assignment. It can seem maybe unnecessary. It may just seem like another type of works cited page or reference page, but when you begin to really understand how this particular assignment functions in the overall writing process and the research project, you'll begin to see how valuable this assignment is and how valuable this annotated bibliography or annotated bib will be for your further research. Okay, so we're going to talk about that, and then we're also going to talk about outlining. How having a general outline will really save you a lot of time, how it will prepare you for your actual research paper, the writing of it, how it will guide your research. So annotated bibliography and a outline, research outline, will be the two things that we're going to discuss. Okay, so those are your two main assignments for this week. So, hopefully everything is off to a good start for you. And sometimes there's some issues that can come up as far as the technology and just getting used to the course and how things function. So hopefully things are beginning to take shape for you. So I want to kind of go back to the databases that you were looking at, the citation worksheet. So that really is just to introduce you to the essentials of a works cited or reference page, MLA, APA, and kind of introduce you to the databases in the library. So I want to give you the three most important databases in the library, at least the easiest to access and the most user-friendly, in my opinion. First is Academic Search Premier. That's a specific name of the database. You can find that it's alphabetical. It's alphabetical there in the listing, or you can find it by, I think it's even by type. But it's a very general database. It holds thousands of articles, thousands of journals. It's really the first step, the first stop, really. There's one search, and one search is everything, but it can be overwhelming. Whereas Academic Search Premier, it kind of narrows things down a little bit more for you. But I would start with Academic Search Premier. There's also Gale Reference Library, or Gale Virtual Reference Library. That's more of an encyclopedia, but that is a really good database for encyclopedic information, background information, historical information, and there is some analysis, there is some analytics involved in it as well. It's not just like it's like Wikipedia, but it's not Wikipedia. It is something that's very well put together. It's peer reviewed. It's peer edited. So we know it's quality. We know it's credible, and it's a really good source. So Gale Virtual Reference Library, I think is the full name, but I just refer to it as Gale. Use that. That will give you just kind of a broad overall picture of your topic. And then there is another one there, JSTOR, JSTOR. That's another good one as well, depending on what your topic is going to be. But JSTOR, JSTOR is a good one. Academic Search Premier, and then Gale Virtual Reference Library. So what you'll notice on some of these articles, some of these journal articles, is that they will also provide a works cited page. A good idea is to review that works cited page of the reference, or of the source that you're using, and that can help you find other sources that they use that are associated with your topic. So that's one way to kind of build your research. Another is some of these sources provide keywords. So if you read an abstract, usually that abstract will give you keywords, and you can build off of that and do further searching based off the keywords from that one additional source, or that one initial source. Okay, so keep in mind, database searching can take up a lot of time, so you want to be very strict in your time management with that, because you can literally spend hours and basically not accomplish much because you're just going through so much and sifting through so much. So use the abstracts, skim read, just flip through pages, so to speak, virtually. don't necessarily sit down and think you have to read a full 25-page source to really use it. Just skim through it, see if it kind of jumps out at you, see if it really grabs you in terms of relevance to your topic or even to the subject. And if not, just move on, okay? But the abstracts are really useful because they give you a synopsis of the actual source. So read those, and then if it doesn't match or doesn't think that it really coincides with what you're working on, just move on to the next. So you can get thousands of hits on some of these searches. So be sure to use the full search mode. You can use keywords and then sub-keywords. Use those parameters to help narrow things down because time management is a key, unfortunately, and when you have that many sources to sift through, it can be overwhelming. So there's even date range. Use stuff that's current. Use stuff that's maybe, depending on what your topic is, but I wouldn't maybe, under most circumstances, I wouldn't go older than, say, 2000. Okay, unless you're wanting to dig up historical precedent on something, you can go before 2000, but really everything after 2000 would be the most relevant research because things change all the time, especially if you're in the sciences. If you're dealing with something in the sciences, you want the most current. If you're doing something with medical, you want something current. If you're doing something psychological, you want current research. Something in the humanities can potentially be decades old, but we want to shoot for the most current research. So it's something that you just have to work with and acquire that skill. So don't be frustrated at first, but just keep at it and keep working. And don't be afraid to reach out to, or I shouldn't say afraid, but don't be reluctant to reach out to a librarian so they can help you. And they have a virtual chat that they can point you in the right direction just over the computer. You don't have to necessarily call or go in, but that's also an option for you. If you live local, definitely go into the library. If you want to give them a call, give them a call, and they'll get you to exactly what you need, or at least get you close to it, or tell you where to look. Okay, depending on how busy they are. So it's just an acquired skill. It's part of the research process. So don't get discouraged right away if you feel overwhelmed. Let me know if you feel overwhelmed. Maybe I can give you some feedback on how to approach your topic or how to maybe search those sources. Don't think that you're on your own on this. You can always reach out to me or to a librarian at any time. Okay. So again, so with the MLA and the APA, again, with that, I wanted to kind of point out is that is also something that you develop over time. It's not that you're going to memorize this stuff right away or overnight. You're going to use it, of course, but you will acquire it and begin to somewhat memorize it as you use it. Okay, so don't think you have to memorize the whole manual, by the end of the semester. That's something that you'll be using for your whole 4 years, of your undergraduate, even into graduate school if you go on to graduate school. So APA tends to be the most popular. If you're in the sciences, APA, of course, if you have another discipline, there might be a discipline-specific style. But typically the most universal is APA. MLA tends to be more for the humanities, in particular the English major. So if you're an English major, definitely go with MLA. Okay, but let's go ahead and get into week 2. So annotated bib, what is it? Why? What is it? Well, an annotated bib, just to kind of give you a working definition, it's an organized, descriptive listing of your sources. So it is like a works cited reference. It does alphabetically list your sources. However, it is descriptive. And what does that mean? It means that it goes in and gives detail. It's not just the citation. It actually gives descriptive detail about that source. Well, what kind of detail does it give? Well, it addresses who and what. Who meaning the author, meaning their background, meaning their credibility, meaning why should we listen to this critic or this author or this scholar? Where'd they come from? What institution did they write for? What are their scholarly credentials? And what is the information that they're presenting? This is kind of an encyclopedic type of entry on this. This is an encyclopedic kind of approach. What are they discussing? Okay, you're going to discuss the who and the what of the article. Okay, Now, this will also coincide with some type of critique or analysis of the source's usefulness to your research situation. And that's an important key word here. Research situation. So every research project is somewhat going to be approached differently because it's a different research situation. So every class, every paper, every research assignment you have is really a different research situation. And what I mean by that is that it takes different strategies to find the sources. It takes different strategies of how to approach the topic, how to frame the topic, how to logically address the topic through the different points. So don't think that there's one size fits all to all writing situations. There isn't. You kind of have to be flexible and see what is this particular situation that you're going to be dealing with. What's the topic? Okay, so it's a critique and analysis of the source in discussing its usefulness to the specific research project that you're working on in that particular paper. Okay, so you want to address that. In fact, if you're reviewing the assignments on week 2, the summary, the summary outline is giving us author's name, title of the article, author's credentials, what is the thesis of the article, the author's thesis, what are the main idea, what is the main idea, what are the subpoints of the article, and are there any, what's the conclusion or conclusions throughout the article. Typically, you'll see conclusions in the paragraphs that will then tie into the final conclusion of the actual essay. Okay, so that's the summary aspect of it. That's the what. That's the who with some of the what, and then we have the response or analysis. What's the writer trying to convey? How well has the author achieved the goal? What does the writer support? What he or she says? Do they cite facts, statistics, quote experts? So you're going to start analyzing how they really support. Okay, so you have who, what, and then the analysis can be how. Okay, so those three things: who, what, and how. Okay, and I would throw in a why. Why is it useful? How does this particularly connect to the research project that you're in, or the research situation that you're in? So in your annotated bibliography, you will have first the citation, then the annotation. So citation, then annotation, and the annotation consists of a summary and a response or analysis, which deals with the who, the what, and the how. And I would maybe add why. Okay? So if you address those things, you're going to do well. You want to address each of the bullet points in the assignment, and if you do that, you'll be moving forward really well in this assignment. So you'll be doing really well. So then you're only picking 2 of the 5 of your sources to really annotate, and then week 3, then you'll come back with part 2 of this assignment, and you'll give a more thorough annotated bib for more of your sources. Okay, so why do we need to do this? Why do we need an annotated bibliography? Well, it helps to organize your research and to know your sources. Helps you to organize the research, the sources that you're going to be using for your research, and helps you to know your sources. It's vital to have an organized understanding of your sources. It's important to really know what your sources are saying and how they're saying it, and what is the rhetoric happening in those sources. What's the main view? What's the main point? What are they trying to achieve in that source? If you know that, then you know to go to it when you're trying to make a specific point. You'll know where to go for a quote, to pull a quote, or to summarize or to paraphrase some of the information. So it's really important to know your sources. Okay? Now, it's important to know what your sources say. Is it credible information? It's important to know what they're saying, and is it credible, and can we believe it? Is it trustworthy? Or is it worth considering? Maybe it's not so trustworthy, but is it worthy of considering it and even discussing it? Does it benefit your research? How do your sources rank in value? Meaning, how do they rank in value to your research project? You're going to have a number one source, a number two source, a number three source, or maybe you have a collection of three that are like the most important, and then it goes down from there. But you'll have a core. You'll have core sources, and then you'll kind of have some of these other on the periphery that are just kind of referred to a few times. But you'll have a core of your 10, maybe 5, I'd say at least half of them would be a core. And maybe in that core, they'll be ranked 1 through 5. Or maybe 2 of them will be the top 2, and the other ones will be ranked. Okay, so get some kind of idea of rank within your sources. Okay, so the annotated bib is really the backbone of your research. It's really forming the backbone or spine, if you want to call it that, of your research paper that you're going to be structuring and pulling everything from. Because really all of your support comes from these sources. It's not you're not expected to create anything new in terms of research. You're just utilizing existing material, secondary sources. So what do your sources say? So that inevitably is the backbone of your research. You're going to be quoting these experts. They are the experts. We're not the experts. They are. So the better you know your sources, the better you'll understand and articulate your thesis. Okay. So as you know your sources, as you become more acquainted with them, that thesis is going to begin to develop stronger and stronger. At first, it'll just be a working thesis, and then as you continue your research and reading your sources, you'll begin to formulate that and refine it and strengthen it, and you'll discover the thesis. Or this thesis will come out of your sources because you'll be arguing and then supporting from your sources. Okay, so that's really the importance, and it's a reference for you. You want to know what your sources are and what they say. Instead of going back through and reading your sources, it makes it less necessary to go back to your sources for the general. Maybe you need a specific quote, but for the general, like, what is that source about? You don't have to go and reread it. You can just go back to your annotated bib and go, oh, okay, so that's the main point. That's what they were saying. Okay, because when you're dealing with 10 sources, they can become kind of blended. And so this will help you keep them, individualized. In the literature review, then you'll begin to blend them. You'll be able to just compare and contrast and synthesize them. But right now, they're all in isolation. Okay, they're all in isolation. One citation after the next. Okay, let's move on. So the annotation, it's a condensed summary. It's a condensed summary, the thesis and main points. Okay, so you're going to have a condensed summary discussing the thesis and the main points. Okay, and it must be clear, it must be concise, it must be coherent, and as I said, it must be isolated. Okay, it must not digress into any of your other sources. It must just deal specifically with that one source in the citation. Okay, all right. So let's move on to the outline. Okay, so this outline is really just a preliminary research outline. It's just to give you kind of an idea of the structure, the rough structure of your paper so far. Okay, so why outline? Well, it's your tentative roadmap. It helps you see where you're going with your research. It helps you maintain coherent logic. So coherency and logic, one point to the next, to the next, to the next, as you support your thesis. Okay, because each paragraph typically, not always, but typically will contain a point of support directly related to the thesis statement. The topic sentence, really, ideally, is that point of support that directly correlates to the topic sentence as the direct point of support for the thesis statement. So you want to maintain a coherent logic through those points, which your outline will help you do. It helps you direct your research. It helps you know where you need, what else you need, where the gaps are, where you need to fill in. It helps you with critical thinking and analysis. Helps you see the broader picture. Helps you see the broad layout of your paper, to see the beginning and the end and everything in between. Okay, it's chronological, so it helps you see the steps. It helps you map out everything that's going on in the paper. So it's easy to overlook. It's easy to underestimate an annotated bib and an outline. it's a step that we usually want to skip. We just want to get right to the paper and write it. But I assure you that these two things, annotated bib and a research outline, will help you in constructing a successful and effective research project. Okay, so like I said, it helps you find gaps in your research. So then if you're seeing holes, you know where to fill in. It helps you know what you don't know and helps you know what you do know. Okay, so how do we start this? So we have background info, background information, context. Okay, so this may end up becoming part of your introduction. So as you're developing your background information section for your outline, this could end up becoming or developing into your introduction of your paper. The second is the thesis, the position, the claim, the argument. Those are three different ways of looking at the thesis statement. It's a position, it's a claim, it's an argument. So that's what the thesis, that's how it functions in the paper. This will eventually be refined into your thesis statement, your specific formal thesis statement in the paper. But right now, it'll just be a working thesis statement, a working claim, a working argument. And I want you to think maybe, wait, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. So then next we have preliminary points of support. Are there any preliminary points of support? What are the topic sentences? Okay, what's out there that you've read? What could possibly support that argument or that claim that you're making in terms of what you've read so far? And then lastly, counter arguments. Are there any other experts contradicting or going against what you found or what you wish to argue? What's the other argument? What's the other side of the story? Okay, so as you detail this, it will become your roadmap. It will become your outline, the working outline. And this is not etched in stone. This can change. You can add to this. You can take away from this. So it's not something that's final. It's just something to get you started. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Please email me. If there's anything that's not clear from the video, please let me know and I can clarify. But this is really the beginning stages, so just keep things fluid. Don't try to make anything concrete yet. Be thinking about what kind of a claim, what kind of an argument you want to make. Be thinking about that topic still. If it's still not clear, let me know, and we can maybe go through that and try to put something together. Okay, well, best of luck to you in week 2 as you work on this assignment. And again, I'm always here to answer emails. I'm more than happy to. All right, well, you have a great day. Thank you.